In the bulletin is my sermon introduction. It's in the back page, I believe. You see a picture there. So let's begin in a coffee shop on Queen Street. At the counter, a customer places an order, then quietly pays for 2 more meals. Not for themselves, not for a friend, but for someone they likely will never meet. But behind them on the wall is that picture, the paid-forward board, covered with sticky notes. Each note represents a prepaid meal for someone who needs a meal. Some of the notes read, "In memory of my grandmother, for someone who needs warmth today. If you are hungry, this is for you." This simple, silent gesture captures today's theme. When we know all is gift, humility becomes our offering. Today is Reformation Sunday, a day tracing back to the early 1500s. Huldrych Zwingli, in 1516, began calling the church to renew its heart. And then Martin Luther, in 1517, posted his 95 thesis against the sale of indulgences, reminding us that grace cannot be bought or earned, calling the church away from power or prestige to grace. From this, the Protestant church was born, and with it, one of its core convictions is solio gratia, by grace alone. As part of the United Church of Canada, we stand in the Reformation tradition. For Reformation reminds us that salvation is not for sale. Healing is not earned. Belonging is not a reward. It is all a gift, undeserved, unmerited, and unmeasurable. Like the sticky notes on the cafe wall, grace comes with no strings attached. God freely given to us in Jesus Christ, says the Christian church, so that we might have life and have it in all its fullness. As we observe this Sunday during the TSP stewardship season, we turn our hearts toward the gifts we have received and the future we are co-creating with each other and God. Through our 2026 budget, through our reimagining conversation after church, through our call to give not from recognition but for and from renewal, we are simply participating as reformers. And in the spirit of Reformation today, we celebrate that the Reverend Dr. Karen Georgia Thompson, from our full communion partner, the United Church of Christ, was elected as the president of the World Communion of Reformed Churches, the first woman and the first black woman to hold such an office. This is Reformation continued, a church reimagined, led by grace, humility, and justice. For when we know all is gift, humility becomes our offering. Luke 18:9 through to 14 tells a parable of 2 people in prayer. By the way, I love the choir down here. I can see you quite clearly. One is a Pharisee who prays with pride, "Thank you that I am not like them." The other one prays like a tax collector, barely looks up. He whispers, "God, be merciful to me, a sinner." Jesus honors the second. Why? Because humility opens the heart to grace, while pride closes it off. The Greek word the tax collector uses is helaste tatoi moi, a plea not for mercy but simply for relationship. This isn't about punishment or avoidance, but about restoration, renewal, and reformation. Given in this light is not performance, but presence. It is not a transaction, but transformation. For when we know all is gift, humility becomes our offering. By the way, that's my tagline and sermon note that I want you to tweet this week. When we know all is gift, humility becomes our offering. But what is this theology of humility and giving? It is Richard Foster in his book, Celebration of Discipline, who writes, "Humility is the ability to see ourselves as we truly are, and to see others as they truly are, created in the image of light and love, created in the image of grace." Humility then is not so much thinking less of ourselves, but thinking of ourselves in light of God. It is thinking rightly about ourselves in light of God and creation. It is living with open hands and hearts, not clenched fists. It is a contemporary theologian who, by the name of Chavez Garcia, who reflects on hospitality in migrant communities as a part of my PhD work. I read her and she writes something like this: "True giving is not about power, but presence, offering what we have without superiority." So biblical giving is not obligation. It is not about gaining credit. It is not about being recognized. It is about being a companion, pursuing equity, and offering grace. Now here is my sermon illustration. This past week, the Toronto Blue Jays made a thrilling run in the American League wildcard race. And if I don't get all of this right, I know there are some people who will correct me. But not every pitch or swing was perfect. But there was effort. There was grit, teamwork, and hope. I was in the mall getting myself a computer with our administrator, and we heard lots of celebration the day after. People were celebrating because they belonged to this city. They shared in the investment of the moment. Likewise, our stewardship is a team sport, not a solo achievement, but a shared effort, not a performance, but a presence. And at the Queen Street Cafe, the sticky notes aren't just about ego, but empathy, accompaniment, and companionship. So too in this sanctuary. We write on the wall of witness through our pledges, through the gifts we give today and through power, through the prayers, through the music, through our presence. We write a story that says all is a gift. The conversation that takes place after church today is simply to be put in the context that we have this tremendous gift called property, and we are simply called to be good stewards of it. We are called not to build so much an impressive building, but to invest in the future so that others may know the justice that we live and long for, so that others may know the welcome that we receive and we offer, so that others may find community that is courageous. In this season of stewardship, may our giving reflect not credit for us, but a commitment from us, not control, but companionship. Not performance, but participation. And don't worry, I'm particularly repeating some words in my sermon today. It's not because I didn't get time to prepare. This is the heart of stewardship for 2026. a budget that reflects not fear but faith, a building that reflects not nostalgia but renewal, a community that reflects not scarcity but the Spirit active and alive. May our sticky notes of grace right on the walls of this church help others to find a meal of help and hope. May our prayers reflect the tax collector's humility, giving that our sticky notes of grace. And may we be a church that is always in the mode of reformation, renewing ourselves, renewing our budget, renewing our buildings. For when we know all is gift, humility is our offering. And yes, David, I've taken your notes quite seriously, and I'm now in the last paragraph. When we keep, we lose. What we give, we gain. And that's from a theologian by the name of Miroslav Volf. May we give today with humility. May we live with open hands. And may our lives reflect the one who gives us freely a love and a grace that keeps us going. May God grant us the grace to know that all is a gift. And may, through humility, we give to others. May it be so. A moment of silent reflection.